What's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another player interview. This time here with Eric Thompson. How you doing tonight, Eric?
Doing great.
Awesome. So you did pretty well at the North Carolina celebration event, am I right?
Yeah, I did pretty well both days, actually, Saturday and Sunday.
So how did you place? And you played this deck for both events, right?
On Saturday it was a little different, just because teammates using similar cards, but it's basically the same deck running both days.
Gotcha.
On
Saturday, how'd you place both days?
Yeah, Saturday our team took second place, and on Sunday I ended up 5th through 8th placed.
Nice.
Third in Swiss, and then 5th through 8th at top.
That's solid, man. You know, I keep hearing people keep talking about, you know, Skilless as just like the deck, and you really think it's that powerful, or what do you think about it?
Oh yeah, it's definitely it is a contender against most decks that are out there currently, for sure.
Solid. And you know, it's pretty interesting. You know, we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I see the Gokus and the Vegetas. How come no Gogeta stuff in this deck?
The team variant ran Gogeta 5-drop in the main. I decided in the singles to slide him out just because there wasn't really a time to use his effect to its full potential. So it kind of just took a back seat, and it ended up just going into my energy most of the time.
Fair enough. Yeah. So it's kind of good, but also kind of clunky, kind of late game.
It's very situational.
Exactly. And then, you know, the two big builds going around right now are blue black and yellow black. So did you test yellow black at all? Did you just find you liked the blue better?
I did not test the yellow version. I have tested against it. Initially I started blue black just because of all the support that comes with blue black defensively and offensively. Any of the yellow versions that I did test against, I ended up beating, so I just felt like the blue black was the superior version.
Nice. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of debate over that. You know, yellow black did make it second place, but way more blue black topped the event, so there's a little bit of a debate there on what's actually the better version. So we'll go through the deck list. So 4-star balls, a lot of people play 5. Why do you play 4, and do you feel like 4 is just enough?
Initially I did have 5 in my testing when the first set or black was first spoiled. I felt that with the amount that with 4, I was seeing it enough in my initial hands where I wouldn't have to like hard mull for try to get one, or the 1-drop Goku to search it up. And then after that point, it was just I would be using them so often that it didn't matter that I had the 5th one or not. So I just ended up dropping down to the 4th one, just to 4.
So you kind of touched on it already, but between the 4 balls and the 4 Goku 1-drops, how many times would you say you never opened with a way to get to the 4-star ball?
So I'd say 5% of my games I didn't start with one of those two in my opening hand. Super
low percentage, right? Yeah, I know the yellow build plays a little bit more. A few, like, they play like the Dende to get to the Dragon Ball, but I think 8 is still plenty. And then the Power Burst. So this is a deck that wants to go longer into the game. So what made you feel comfortable only playing 3 negates instead of 4?
So the way the deck works is you let your opponent get you down to 6 life, and then you awaken early enough to where they are using more cards than you are to try to get the damage in. So I felt that the extra negate wasn't really necessary unless it was a swing that I believe I couldn't handle comboing out, because it's got so many non-1-drop or 1-cost combo cards that you pretty much could out combo just about any attack that they throw at you and still be ahead of their card advantage.
Nice. I like that in-depth explanation. I know that people watching this really appreciate that too. So we got the 4 Goku, 4 Android, the 4 super combo. Yeah, I guess you want to sit at 6 life as long as possible, so the sparking makes sense. The 4 Krillin. So you are playing a more heavy, you know, 2-drop vanilla deck. A lot of the other decks that play more 3-drops instead of 2-drops. So what made you want to dedicate more space to the 2s rather than to the 3s?
For the 2s, it was mainly there was a really reason. Originally it was for the Gogeta, because I had that main board at one point. So I felt I needed to have 4 and 4 of those versus the 3. And then as I got testing, there weren't really many decks that I needed to just purely have the 3-drop in play. Mainly Janemba or anybody running the Goku FR. The 2-drops were enough because the 4-star just worked so well with any Skilless that it didn't matter. But there were certain matchups that I wish I had more to burr. That's why I have the extra one in sideboard, though.
Gotcha. And then Commander Red. So this is a card that actually a lot of lists don't really play. It's kind of like a steeper Krillin in a lot of ways, but it's also like a 1-drop Goku in a lot of ways. So how did this card for you? How did it do for you? Did it overperform, underperform?
It definitely underperformed. It originally was at 3 in initial testing, and I dropped it down to 2. Just another way to see a 3-drop when you eat it late game, if the game goes on long. Because, I mean, the Goku's effect is only once per turn, and you have multiples, but you don't have multiple Gokus in play.
Right.
You just drop 2 beaters in play and keep swinging.
Fair enough. Secret Rare, absolutely busted. Senzu Bean, we talked about. How many games did the Secret Rare win you?
Mainly the only times I did actually play it was against a Pan deck and a Janembas. So I believe anytime I played against Pan, I won both those games. And then Janemba, I didn't win with it, but it was enough to help me win the game by removing those necessary cards out of Janemba's hand, mainly the blue ones. Right,
kind of just got you there. Anyway, the 3 Deborah, 3 Preface, 2 at all costs. This is kind of interesting. Was Preface more just like a play extender than anything else?
It initially did. After watching the celebration the week before, I was afraid of Baby with Revenge Death Balls. So I just needed a finisher that they couldn't touch in that sense. And then I also knew Brawley was going to be a big contender this week. So I wanted to have a guy I could have in play without worrying about it just dying straight up in mid combo.
Right, for sure. And then at all costs is one of your finishers in the deck. So this is a card, like, I know a lot of people feel differently about it, but I don't like this card in mono blue or like blue based decks because, like, for me, if you don't have Battering to back it up, it just loses to a negate. So, like, how did you feel about this card?
The idle cost is great. They don't have a real way of awakening in the deck. I mean, there are other options, obviously, but with Vegeta and protecting your life so hard at 6 life, taking 2 life just doesn't seem to hurt you a lot because you're still at 4. Versus being at 4 life and then going for game and then putting yourself down to 2, and if it doesn't get through, you're not being afraid of just dying to whatever they come back at you with.
Right. Yeah, that's how more I feel about it. But yeah, the 6 life thing does make a lot more sense actually. So you go to 4 and you kind of just sit there. And then the 2 surprise attack. This is actually a cool little tech that I think is pretty interesting in the deck. Is this really just for like the Android 8 combo, but it also kind of works when you kill things by battle?
Yeah, so mainly if it was mainly for the Android 8, but then as we were playtesting more, my teammates also brought up another point with him. He's anti-Kami as well. So Kami states that they KO their own battle cards, which will then trigger the Frieza. So if they wipe your board, you can just play a free guy and play. Now you still have something in play.
Dang, that's pretty solid that I actually didn't think about. That's pretty awesome. And then the 2 Champas. So that's basically one of your main finishers in the deck. I mean, you got the Secret Rare, you have at all costs, but you ever wish you had another Champa, or was 2 fine?
No, 2 is fine. It was enough to see it when I needed it, but not enough to where it would flood my hand early game when I didn't need it.
Nice. So we'll go over to the sideboard. So 3 Killy Zones. So there's actually a good amount. I guess there's a bunch of on-play effects, but there's a good amount of activate main effects. So was Bloodlust and like Preemptive Strike really something you were scared of for the event?
For sure. Brawley, I knew there was going to be people bringing yellow, green Brawley, the chain Brawley version. And with playing things like Preface and the Secret Rare, or Krillin even, like, I don't want them to just stop my pressure just by paying 1 energy. I'd rather them have dead cards in their hand. So it was good.
How much Broly or how many decks playing Bloodlust and Preemptive Strike did you play against this weekend?
I played It was the same person actually. So I only played one battle, Green Brawly. It was the champion Matt. I played them both in teams and in singles. I actually didn't hit anybody else that was playing Brawly that weekend.
Gotcha. The 2 Cronoa for the Shugesh decks. Then we have the Wizard Demigra, mostly just for like Baby and Green Broly, right?
Oh, for sure.
And how often did you catch people with this card?
Since I only played the one Green Brawly, it came up once, but once I played it against him, he knew. He kind of knew it was coming again. So
knew to not get greedy.
But the first game though, the first game I used it definitely caught him off. It just stops the chain right away, and if it doesn't, if you have a second one in hand or an Android 8 and a Goku, you can force them to keep discarding cards, so you can keep pressuring them later in the turn. Yeah,
that's one of the cool things about like the Broly matchup is like you can kind of just force them to use a lot of cards because they only get 6 cards, and while that leader draws 6 every turn, only having 6 on defense is not a lot of cards. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, especially a lot of those are going to be like extra cards and 10k combos. So yeah, the decks I talk about all the time. The deck's very fair in that sense. Haru. So I know you only played against one green Broly, but did you play against any other yellow or green decks throughout the weekend?
Actually, I did not. It was definitely an underrated or overrated card in this deck. Mainly just the matchups. But if I did hit any of it, it can extend plays really far.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense because like the best way to use Haru is on turn 4 with a 1-drop, and you have so many obviously value 1-drops on the deck. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And then the third at all costs. What did you bring this in against?
Janemba. Mainly it's just Janemba. Any of the slower decks that will be swinging on mainly my battle cards versus me.
Gotcha. And then the Gogeta 5. What did that come in against?
Nothing that weekend.
Oh, really?
Definitely left it in sideboard all weekend long.
What was the game plan for it?
Initially, it was a card to counteract Prison Frieza. Because I did play that a lot in my initial testings. I figured it would be, since it's a newer deck, people would be playing it, and it was a way to be able to put their bigger Friezas late game on the bottom of their deck and have them have to start over again, basically.
So like would you play it into the 8-drop and do it that way?
So which 8-drop? Sorry. The Frieza. Yeah. So once they would swing in with their Friezas, like I said, the main part is to be at 6 life against that deck.
Right.
So that way, when you are playing a dude and that Frieza auto activates, you're not just dying straight up. You can take the 4 life, no problem, be at 2, put their guy on the bottom of their deck, and then start putting more pressure on them again.
Yeah, that Awaken at 6 definitely adds a whole lot of versatility to the deck. Yeah, so that's all pretty solid. So what would you say like are the good and bad matchups for this deck?
Bad matchups, obviously the mirror. I played it in the top, and it's just a whole lot of back and forth who can keep control of the board the longest. The other bad matchup that I had was against the Ramp Gogeta, the blue Ramp Gogeta that came out. I lost to it in the teams, and then I didn't really have a way to counteract it since it was something I've never seen before, so I wasn't really prepared for it. Once I hit it again in singles, I was lucky enough that it was my final Swiss round, so it didn't really matter at that point. But it was definitely a tough deck to try to figure out on the go, on that, like right there and there.
Right. Yeah, something you never saw before, exactly. And what would you say the good matchups for this deck?
Oh, everything else. Janemba has no I mean, I'd say Janemba is like 70-30 version, but I mean, there's going to be a couple changes going to go into the deck to kind of make it even higher. No problems against Green Brawly. It's a game of waiting with Green Brawly. But I mean, it usually outperforms that deck usually. No problem against the yellow Brawly swap. Any aggro decks doesn't have any problems against because you can just counter swing against any of their battle cards and empty their board.
How about Vegeta Baby?
Interesting. Mainly the sideboard tech really helps against it. If you go first, it's not a problem at all. If you go second, you just kind of have to play on the defensive and hope that they don't get the 8-drop baby, and if they, or not the 6-drop baby, and play really early. And if you do, just gotta hope you have a preference in hand to stop that initial auto and then continue the swing.
Right.
But I mean, it was interesting to play against Bright Baby, but I mean, it just felt like all the other matches I'm just auto playing on autopilot, just doing what I need to do on each of those turns to make sure I'm having the most optimal cards in play at that time.
And then, sorry, I think I interrupted you when you were going to talk about Pan.
Oh, Pan, yeah. It's similar to the baby matchup. They're playing aggressively. You just take the life when you need to and just counter swing on all their battle cards. Since you're going wide, a lot of times you usually have more battle cards in play than they do. That's about it for them. I mean,
and the nice thing too, I would say, is probably, you know, sitting at 6 life in that matchup too is really nice, because you know, once they do chain Zeno you have a couple extra cards to pick up, which is pretty solid.
Yeah, yeah. Chain Zeno definitely is something I was kind of scared of, because if you don't draw the right hand, you're pretty much dead in the water at that point.
Right, you can get pretty screwed if you draw like a bricky hand. And one thing I want to mention too, I test this deck a good amount. I usually play the yellow version, but I test this deck a good amount of Vegeta Baby, and like, it is winnable, especially if you hit like the SCR. But like, you know, you can't like play out your 1-drop Goku and let it sit there. You can't play out your you know, Android and let it sit there. And sometimes when you want to do the Android pop, you get you know, you get messed with by After Image and stuff. So can you talk a little bit more about how you play that matchup?
So with that, yeah, you can't play them early, unless you really are going to continue the play afterwards. So most of the time I would save the 1-drop Goku when I was at 2 energy, so I could play both the Android 8 and the Goku in the same turn, or play a Goku, search a ball up, swing with leader, or untap with Sensu Bean, and then tap 2 to play a 3-drop. If it was after image, I mean, it's okay. I mean, it happens. They're wasting cards either way.
Right. Yeah, definitely. This deck is definitely super powerful. It's just super high value. You draw a crazy amount of cards. Your vanillas become 10Ks. I think it's super solid. Eric, any final words on the deck? Any final words on the event? Any shoutouts?
Yeah, I would like to shout out to the team that I went with, the Absolute Units, Matthew Simons, Nick Green, Justin Rosenberg, and Zach Egner. They were great all weekend with me. Nick Green and Justin, who also played Skilless on singles, they went pretty much undefeated as well on Swiss using the same deck. It was just great all around. Jim definitely ran a great event. It was pretty smooth. He's pretty generous with all the snacks he gave out that weekend. That was great too. I'd like to do it again for sure. I just hopefully something in this foreseeable future that's close by that I can go to again. I want to try to keep playing this deck for sure. It's definitely a strong one.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations again on your finish, and we'll see you guys next time. Hey, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Thanks for watching that video. If you would be so kind to drop a sub, maybe check out some of our videos. If the end card is even there, you know, the hardest part of doing YouTube is not the editing, it's not the videos, it's not the content creation, it's that YouTube just doesn't want to work sometimes. So hopefully that stuff is there. You guys are awesome. I'll see you in the next one.